Fantasy series is an interesting series, depending on which side you'd like to look at it from. Now, the point of view I look at it from is its colorful cast of characters and the colorful cast of fans that surround the series. Now, there are many interesting concepts to this series, and before I start talking like a computer, let me just say straight up, the only Final Fantasy game that I actually bothered buying with my own money was Crisis Core.
I'm not really good at telling stories, but I'll do my best. Crisis Core takes place some years before the events of Final Fantasy VII, and as such, many characters from the game and other related works appear in Crisis Core. However, the primary characters in the game are from either Shinra Electric Power Company's private armed forces dubbed as Soldier, or from the covert branch of operatives called the Turks. I don't really know. I didn't pay much attention. The main protagonist and playable character of Crisis Core is Zack Fair, a young and happy man. Yes, happy. You know what I mean. Anyway, at the start of the game, he is a second-class soldier operative. Angeal is a first-class soldier and acts as a mentor for Zack and also a father-like figure. Both are friends with fellow soldier members Sephiroth and Genesis, the latter serving as the game's primary antagonist who takes special interest in an unfinished play called Loveless. I don't get it either. You know, these are one of those games where you have to pick up the one that came out before in order to understand it. Or as I like to call it, another excuse for you paying more money than you really wanted to. I hate doing that. So story, man, what do I say? A lot of games require that you play the prequels or the things that came out before it, but really, just as I reiterated before, it's just another excuse for you to buy it again. Stories should be easy to pick up by anyone, and this one is definitely not one of them. Usually, this is where I'd say either a game shines or dims. And yes, I just completely screwed up a perfect saying, now deal with it. Anyway, during the main story of the game, the player moves Zack through in between open areas, allowing him to talk with non-playable characters, interact with the environment, or encounter monsters in battle. At any save point in these areas, the player may opt to take one of many side missions that are available. If selected, Zack is moved to a special area to complete the mission, usually to defeat one or more enemies. If the mission is successfully completed, the player is rewarded with one or more items, and often one or more new missions become available. Whether the mission is completed successfully or if Zack falls in battle, Zack is returned to the save point at the end. If Zack should fall in battle during the main story combat, the player will be forced to restart from their last save game. But trust me guys, it's really not that difficult. I found that the camera worked very well in combat situations, and that the enemies' animations were very detailed. You'll travel along cities, country prairies, and laboratories. But from the wondrous lights of the city to the beautiful and open air of the countryside, you'll laugh helplessly at the inevitable slaughter of your enemies. It's just all too easy, and soon it turns into a been there, done that situation. It's really hard cramming all of this onto one EMD, but you would never know, as there is no slowdowns in the game, and everything from animations down to character models are completely detailed. I found that there is somewhat of a button delay, but nothing too bad. The fighting mechanics are very similar to Kingdom Hearts, which is a plus in my book. The story, as I've mentioned before, is very complex. One would assume that if you played the original Final Fantasy VII, that you would know exactly what's going on. Unfortunately, I don't have the opportunity nor the patience to finish Final Fantasy VII, so story here makes no sense for me. Apparently, it's a prequel to the aforementioned game. At any rate, the environments are fairly decent in size, but one only could wish that it would be much larger. Facial gestures and expressions work well, but you can definitely see that most of the dubbing still requires some sort of work. There are some minor bugs and sometimes when you get lost, however, the programmers should be praised for what they were able to achieve in such little time and such a small disc.
So let's look at this as the most unbiased opinion as possible, okay? Final Fantasy Crisis Core, on the positive side, had excellent graphics, excellent attention to detail, excellent voice acting, and overall a great movie-like experience. On the negative side, oh boy, on the negative side, the gameplay mechanics felt a bit too complicated for its own good. The camera was overall good, but however, the models could be too big sometimes, and you won't be able to see your way around. 3, it's overall boring. 4. I just don't like Final Fantasy to begin with. I'm sorry. Okay, I've tried. I reviewed it. There we go. Crisis Core. 5.8 out of 10. This is Silver Saturn Studios.